the lead car here, the lead SUV,
Mhm.
sticking pretty tightly to the tail of this car.
Yeah, I mean, this may be the closest we've seen. He's about 2, 3 car lengths, but he's never been any more than 4 or 5 car lengths behind him. Again, as you point out, this is the LAPD. This is a suspect. We believe there are at least 2 people in the car, a passenger and a driver. Not sure which one is the suspect here, who may be wanted for a shooting that happened in November. And as we heard from Ileana, and she's been on this since about 3 o'clock this afternoon, it's all been surface streets. There's been very little. He's been in neighborhoods. He's been in that commercial area in Inglewood, and he's been up and down Rosecrans. But once again, he appears to be back in a residential area and going, what, 25, 35 miles an hour at best.
Yeah, we saw some pretty slick maneuvers from the driver earlier, weaving in and out of strip mall parking lots, down alleys, as Eliana mentioned, and primarily sticking in the Gardena, Hawthorne, Inglewood area, not veering off too far from those three areas of Los Angeles. LAPD still in pursuit. Again, speeds we've seen ratchet up here at the top of the hour. But again, driving on the wrong side of the road, again, speeds increasing, not indicative of what we're seeing here right now. As you mentioned, Colleen, sticking primarily to the speed limit here in these residential neighborhoods.
You have to think that because the officers know who's in that car, at some point there's some sort of negotiation going on. There's a phone call going on between either the driver and or the passenger here. And we say passenger because at one point, Ileana said she noticed that the passenger window went down. It appeared that passenger threw something out of the car, which, of course, when you've got multiple officers behind, one of those units will stop and pick up whatever that is in terms of possible evidence here. He is back in a residential area. This is West 120th Street in the Inglewood, West Athens
Yeah.
area. And, this is where it gets a little dicey, Michael. Oh, he pulls up to an intersection here. Even if he has a red light, he tends to barrel right through. That is the one moment we've seen him hesitate here, and it's because he had oncoming traffic.
Yeah, more of a conscious move here this time around, but we've seen several close calls early on in our coverage. And it bears mentioning once again, the LAPD not really letting up that lead SUV 2 to 3 car lengths behind. And you mentioned prior to this, Colleen, the pit maneuver and when to use it, when not to use it. And
Mhm.
some of the unknowns at this point, is someone armed inside of that vehicle right now? We know what this person is wanted for. And again, but the conditions need to be pristine. They need to be perfect.
They do. And you look at the speeds here, and the speeds anywhere from 25 to, let's say, 42, 45 miles an hour. Those are good speeds for a pit maneuver. The size of the car, this is a Ford Fusion, so it's not a big car. Definitely smaller than those SUVs being driven by the LAPD. So that seems to be perfect. But when you don't know what is inside that car and the suspect, who is either the passenger or the driver, is wanted for a shooting in November, that means you can't use any of those pit maneuver methods or procedures. Also, this guy's been driving around, and while he seems to be staying in the same neighborhood, you can't really get ahead of him because you don't know where he's going, so you can't lay out
Yeah.
a spike strip.
Again, making a left turn here on this is a Haas Avenue.
That almost looks
Is it
like a
through, is
parking
it
lot.
through a,
An
is it an
alley
actual
or a street?
street? Or I thought it was a parking lot, but it looks like it might be an alley here at this point, which is similar to what we've seen before. And again, we talk about these densely populated streets, many of them that have speed bumps.
Mhm.
Yeah, pulling out here and making a right. Again, LAPD sticking to the tail of that car at this point, 9 to 10 units behind with 2 airships overhead.
We talk about time, and really, the LAPD, I look at the car behind him. He almost pulls up like he's speeding up, getting ready to execute a pit maneuver, and then he just sort of backs off a little bit. Um, it's typically what happens. They stay very, very close and then they execute. But as we pointed out, they're not sure if a person in that car is armed.
It is 421. We have had this pursuit since the top of the 4 o'clock newscast. LAPD has been in pursuit well over an hour at this point. And again, more speed bumps.
back to a residential area.
Back to a residential area. It might be one of the same areas that he's already been down. But again, those speed bumps, the LAPD, as you mentioned, yeah, it looks as if he's going to pull up behind it.
Well, he almost gets that sort of menacing where he steps on the gas and he steps up. So you see him in your rearview mirror, but then he backs off just a little bit.
Yeah, they're on Daphne.
And this would be a perfect place because there are very few other cars except parked cars. And you do see a few people standing out on the street.
And
there.
we've seen that. Many people who have obviously know what's happening, popping out and again, watching from the sidelines here as this driver at any given time can, ratchet the speeds up to 50, 60 miles per hour. Right now, about 20, 25 miles per hour through these residential neighborhoods. But again, another tight street he goes down here, half commercial, half residential, and LAPD sticking to the rear of the car.
We have with us on the phone right now Ryan Railsback, retired police officer. Ryan, are you with us?
I sure am.
Okay, tell us what you see when you see this, especially when we look and we see all these people standing out. Do you think this is a neighborhood he's very familiar with?
Well, usually when the suspect, the driver, keeps, just kind of staying in the same area, they are familiar with it. Whether they live there, they frequent there, it kind of gives the impression that whoever's driving seems to know where they're at.
Do you see the picture now? He's stopping. So that Ford Fusion is stopped. He seems to be in an alleyway between apartment buildings there. Talk us through what's going on with the officers.
Well, if he's still in the car, now they're looking at their high-risk stop tactics. They want to make sure that not only are they going to be safe themselves, they want to keep everybody who might be around, any bystanders, any of the residents safe, but they also want to keep the occupants of the vehicle safe as well. They want to make sure that everybody comes out, hands up. You're going to watch them, as we've seen it many times before, certain ways that they're going to call them out aside of the vehicle to just make sure that this can be as safe as those officers can make it, especially for the suspects. The last thing officers want to do is get in some type of force options situation here. They just want them to peacefully surrender.
I would really like to know the psychology behind all of this, simply because he has been being pursued by the LAPD for well over an hour, then suddenly just stops in an alley, just stops and surrenders.
Sometimes it's just random. Sometimes, that pursuit, maybe it got to him. Maybe he's finally convinced himself that he needs to give up.
Ryan, we're going to stop you for just a second because he is giving up. We're going to go back to Ileana Moreno in News Chopper 4. Ileana, where are we? And we can see he's moved away from the car.
And that's exactly what LAPD are as possible. And we're in the area, though, of Rosecrans Avenue, and Ardath Avenue is the exact cross, but that's near Crenshaw. So that's going to be the nearest major. And he drove into an alleyway between apartment buildings here, an area that he had come around a few times now. And right before he actually pulled in here, there was a large crowd outside of an apartment building that saw him go by. It's unclear if they knew him or not, but they were all outside of the apartment complex watching the pursuit go by, and shortly thereafter is when he pulled into this alleyway. He's still down on the ground here. Officers are clearing the vehicle. Again, at one point we had heard them say that there was a possibility that there was a passenger, but at this point that does not appear to be the case, as they just cleared that front seat, and the next step will be to clear the trunk of the vehicle to make sure that nobody is hiding back there. But again, you'll remember that this is all in connection with a possible shooting that happened back in November. Not a homicide, but a shooting nonetheless. LAPD officers chased this guy for over an hour here through the streets of South Los Angeles, Hawthorne, and Gardena, where it has now come to termination, but they're still going to work on taking this individual into custody.
All right, so Ileana, my eyes must have been deceiving me. I could have sworn I saw a passenger at one point in time during this chase. You're telling me there's not a single person in that car but the driver?
LAPD thought they saw a passenger as well, Michael, but there was always the possibility that the suspect could have stopped just long enough for that passenger to get out, or the driver could have pushed his way into the passenger seat at some point, and it appeared to be a passenger in the eyes of the LAPD. So there was that initial information, but at this point, it doesn't appear that anybody else is inside of the vehicle. They just opened up the doors there, and the officers, their posture much more relaxed. They're still working on the trunk there. It always kind of takes a little bit for them to figure out where the lever is for that. But at this point, it appears that it's just going to be this one individual in the white T-shirt, a suspect wanted in connection with a shooting from last year.
Once again, can you give us the exact location of this?
Yeah, we're just off of Rosecrans Avenue is the major, but it's off of a smaller little street called Ardath, which is going to be a residential street. But Crenshaw is going to be another major street here through the area. So as I widen out the shot, you're going to see that this is a highly residential area right off of Rosecrans and Crenshaw, where this all came to an end here in this narrow alley.
All right, Ileana Moreno and Ryan Railsback, thanks so much for your coverage on this today. Thank you.
All right, now to that deadly avalanche being called the worst in California history.
8 skiers were found dead in the mountains near Lake Tahoe. One more skier is still out there missing and presumed dead at this point.